You may have noticed that in the world of electric cars, manufacturers like to talk about those headline ranges. It's 200 miles, it's 300 miles in between charges. But Mazda, with its MX-30, has gone down a slightly different route. It's working to make their cars lighter and more efficient, but in doing so, don't offer the same kind of ranges as some of their competitors. What we're trying to do today is find out whether this approach is one that really works. The Mazda MX-30 has been given loads of really cool design touches. You might notice the really slim LED headlights that blend into that quite large grille and massive Mazda badge. This particular car has a floating roof design which contrasts the darker colour beneath it, and you've also got some really nicely designed alloy wheels as well. Overall, it's a design that does tend to draw the eye, and certainly looks quite different to some of its competitors. The first thing that greets you when you sit inside the cabin of the MX-30 is the use of recycled materials. So down here we've got a lot of cork finishes, and here we've got a recycled material up top which kind of backs the green credentials that this car is going for. However, it's not just that alone. There are some really well-grounded options in here too. This large area is good for storing devices or your phone or just items that would usually roll around the cabin. And there's also a 3-pin plug there, so you can charge your laptop while you're on the move. In terms of tech, we've got a lower screen here which controls the heating and ventilation, and a top screen which looks after the media and navigation functions. Up front, we've got 2 conventional dials, which is actually quite refreshing in a time when we see mostly digital dials. But in the middle, there is a TFT screen which shows your range, as well as the assistance systems that are coming into play. Overall, it's got a really nice blend of those recycled materials and these cutting-edge screens, which is, well, quite typically Mazda, really. Despite being a relatively compact car, there's actually quite a lot of space to be found in the back of the MX-30. Obviously, access is helped no end by those suicide-style doors, which makes it easier to enter into the back of the car. Now, the seat is in my position, and I'm just under 6 foot, and as you can see, knee room is relatively tight, but I've got enough room to fit my feet, and I've got plenty of headroom too. Interestingly, Mazda has fitted electric adjustments for the front seat, which, well, I'm not sure if your driver would appreciate being moved while they're driving. Elsewhere, there's quite a lack of storage. There are some tiny little pockets at the side, but apart from that, there's no real place to put, well, anything. There are also no chargers below your feet, so passengers might feel that they're getting slightly short-changed in terms of equipment. However, the fit and finish is good, and of course those recycled materials are extended back here too. The MX-30 offers up 341 litres as standard, rising to 1,146 litres when the rear seats are folded down, and they go pretty flat too, so it is a slightly more practical option than cars like the Vauxhall Mokka-e, for instance. However, there isn't anywhere dedicated to store the charging cables, so those are going to have to sit in the boot, and there isn't a frunk, so you can't store them elsewhere. That does eat into the overall practicality somewhat.
It's a mixture of the good and the bad when it comes to driving the Mazda MX-30. We really like the suspension setup, which is actually very comfortable for an electric car. And the steering, which is something we've come to expect from Mazda, is excellent too. So that gives it some real agility, and it allows you to enjoy the car through the bends. Though you've only got 143 brake horsepower, which doesn't sound like an awful lot on paper, though we've only got 143 brake horsepower to play with, and that doesn't look like an awful lot on paper, the electric motor's instant torque means that this actually feels zippier in real life, and it allows you to exploit gaps in traffic or just even get up to speed in a decent enough time. Mazda quotes 0 to 60 miles an hour in 9.7 seconds, and it actually feels a little bit quicker in real life. However, one of the real drawbacks with the MX-30 is its range. Now, Mazda claims that you'll be able to do 124 miles on a full charge, and that's on a good day. When it's cold, you might be able to see under 90, which means this is really hamstrung by its inability to travel long distances. Plus, it can only charge at 50 kilowatts, which means that even if you plug into a 125 kilowatt charger, the maximum you're going to get is 50. And that really does mean you're going to spend a lot more time at the plug waiting to charge up. It's a bit of a shame, really, because if this car had a longer range, then it would be a really good package. But as it is, this really is restricted to town drivers or those ones who don't really like doing long miles.
Though the MX-30's slightly diminutive range might be something to put people off, you need to look a little bit further into this car to appreciate what it has to offer. It's good to drive, it looks really cool, and its interior has some of those cool features which really work to make you feel quite excited about this car. The use of analog dials also means that those people who are transitioning from a petrol or diesel car might find themselves slightly more at ease in the MX-30 than they would do with an otherwise more high-tech rival. Though drivers who are looking to do shorter journeys around town will be able to work around the MX-30's limitations and be able to take advantage of that really cool design and very nicely made interior.